two plants again. I noticed that it's kind of hard to see the third spike. Okay, remember the two old ones that are spent, and I said there was a third one. Well, after watching the video, I kind of wondered if anybody could see the third one. Well, it's getting longer now. So, yeah, tell me you can't see that. If you couldn't see it before, well, God help you if you can't see it now. So that's, it's growing pretty fast. Okay. Now, for the other update in just a couple of days, imagine that. Yeah, look at that. I don't remember seeing that when I filmed the first time. That looks like it's extending. Can I get a better shot without the pet? Nah, not you. Ooh, dirty wall. Some paint coming off there. But anyway, extending a little bit. So I've got 9 blooms back up here so we can count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I can count 9 blooms. So, extending. That's pretty cool. With everything this plant has done, it has grown a new leaf. Yeah, I just can't get my finger over there and hold this 12-inch iPad too. So, it's grown a new leaf. It's worked some on its roots. Dirty old hood. I need to clean that, something terrible. Grown a leaf, it's worked on its roots. It put out this entire spike, obviously. It still looks good. It's not going over yet. It kept its old spike, and after all that, it's going to extend. This plant has got more energy. I don't know. It's got a lot of energy. It's a little bit wilty. It's starting to come back from its wilty episode. And quite frankly, I don't blame it for taking a little bit from the leaves to do all this other stuff. Literally, it's doing everything an orchid could do all at once. I am beyond impressed with this one. Okay. To the point of what I wanted to talk about, though. I wanted to talk about the nitrogen cycle. The nitrogen cycle, because, well, it comes first, so starting at the beginning seems a logical place to start. So, with the wet nitrogen cycle, I guess I will call it, it starts with my village. I'm sorry. Had a pop-up that I just started reading without thinking. The nitrogen cycle starts with ammonia. Well, I guess I start with the fish. The fish produces ammonia. And we go from that starting point. So, how does my fish tank deal with ammonia? Well, these guys can take up some ammonia. They're just plants. They happen to be lucky bamboo, but you know, they can take up some. And some are taken up by beneficial bacteria. And the start of that beneficial bacteria is Nitrosomonas. That is the family of bacteria. It's kind of like saying dog or cat. Nitrosomonas. It's the family of bacteria that eat ammonia. So after these Nitrosomonas consume the ammonia, like any living creature, they've got to pass something as a byproduct. Well, that byproduct is nitrites. I've got to stop and think because I always get the two mixed up. So we've gone from ammonia to nitrites. Well, nitrites are just as toxic to fish, well, not quite as toxic to fish, as ammonia is. So we've dealt with the ammonia, now we've got nitrites. How do we deal with the nitrites? Well, another bacteria comes along to eat the waste of the first bacteria, yum yum, and they are called Nitrobacter. So the Nitrobacter eat the nitrites, and of course, like the first one, they have a byproduct too, which is nitrates. And of course, these here plants can take up both nitrites and nitrates. To some extent, I'm sure that they take up all three. But now we've gone from ammonia, and the Nitrosomonas eat the ammonia and turn it into nitrites. And then the Nitrobacter come along and eat the nitrites and turn it into nitrates. Well, what happens to the nitrates? Most people at this point with their aquariums are going to do a water change. And that's how you get rid of nitrates, is by doing your water change. Well, I do a water change too. The old water goes into the plants, and that's my first step of food for them. So, over here, I hope that wasn't too fast, make anybody seasick. You know, I've got stacks and stacks of leaves because I've got very natural nitrogen. And plants put all that nitrogen into stems and leaves. So I've got some leaves because of all that nitrogen. So after the nitrates, technically there's a third bacteria that converts the nitrates into nitrogen gas. Now, try as I might for months now, I have not found the name of that last bacterium. And the reason for that is, while the first two families of bacteria, like I say, you got your cats and your dogs, Nitrosomonas and Nitrobacter, you know, you can look at, you know, them whichever way you want to on who's going to be the cat and who's going to be the dog. But we're talking cats and dogs, not German Shepherds and Chihuahuas. That's not quite how it works. The Nitrobacter and the Nitrosomonas are families. They're not Persian cats and they're not German Shepherds. They're the bigger family cat and dog. And like I said, you know, for the life of me, I cannot name that third family because in the aquarium world, nobody talks about it. They might mention that it exists, but nobody has the name for that last bacterium. And a large part of that is, while the first two are oxygen-loving organisms, which is just like your fish, an oxygen-loving creature. You know, the first two like loads of oxygen. So That's why you want loads of oxygen in your tank. Not just for your fish, but for your bacterial colonies that, make it easier to keep your fish alive without oodles and oodles of work. So that's my first food source. The last bacterium, I keep forgetting, is a non-oxygen loving bacterium. I'm trying to think of the term and it just left my brain. Bye-bye, term. See you when you come back. It's gone. Can't think of it right now. Nerves. I get a little nervous when recording these. So that's my first food source. Natural nitrogen. So I got stems and leaves. On the Lucky Bamboo, the stems and leaves ain't real great. But if you look at the top ones there, they're pretty great. Nice and green. So that's my first little trick there is I've got natural nitrogen. How can you do better than natural? You just have to know where it comes from. So that's where my nitrogen comes from, and quite frankly, the fish tank is where my phosphorus comes from too. And there's a test to measure phosphorus. I've got one somewhere. It's getting old. And I think it's for salt water. But phosphorus, that's a different category. And of course the potassium, the K for photosynthesis, that's an even different category. So, there's something to think about. What kind of nitrogen are you using? I'm using natural nitrogen. And not to toot my own horn, but I have had, I think it's 2 people now say that my Phalaenopsis look fake. They're so perfect and shiny that they look fake. Boy, that's a compliment if I ever heard one. People don't usually have plants that look fake in plastic. Usually there's something wrong. And really, I'm no different. I mean, look at all those brown leaves on the Lucky Bamboo. Okay, I don't care about the bamboo. It's supposed to be making my life easier on the fish. But if you look closely, yeah, there's some damage to one of my perfect leaves. It's real. It got damaged. It said ow. It turned brown. It's a real plant. This one doesn't look quite as fake as the others, but... So there's my first thing. I use natural nitrogen. And I think that nitrogen is the most important. Why else would they put it first on the NPK? Okay. Talk to you next time.